All right. Welcome to the ManageIQ Community Hangout. My name is John Mark Walker, the ManageIQ Community Leader. And we're here today with Jason Frey. Wave your hand, Jason. Greg Blomquist and Oleg Barenboim. And we're going to talk to you about some new things going to ManageIQ. We're talking about how we're retooling the provider architecture and some other new features that'll be in the next release of ManageIQ, the Botvinnik release.
Did he freeze for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. He literally went to sleep.
Live TV, everyone.
Jason, you want to start talking about providers and what we're doing there?
Yeah, I might as well, right?
Nope. Yeah.
So providers. So about 2 or 3, no, 5 weeks ago, something. I posted on our GitHub repo a design layout for what I want to do with providers and managers. The main reason we started going down this route was as we were discussing the pluggable provider stuff, we realized that trying to insert more managers or more providers of different types, it's the existing external management system class that we have in the code can't really support all of those different kinds of future ideas. So one of the things I'm looking to introduce is a new concept or class called provider that's different from the management systems that we have now. Right now, there's sort of a one-to-one between the external management system class and what we all call a provider. And that's not really true. Sometimes a provider can manage different things, and we might need multiple management systems to deal with that. So let me share my screen. So can you see that?
Yep, there it goes.
Okay, so this is the GitHub issue I had opened about the new provider architecture. It's on GitHub ManageIQ issue 1272. You can go there, take a look. Please comment on it if you have any thoughts or anything around it. But the big takeaway is, as you can see right there in the picture, the current setup is that EXT management system is sort of the top of the food chain. And it's what we all call a provider right now. For VMware, it's pretty straightforward. You add a VMware EMS, and then you have your data underneath. For Amazon, we ended up creating a separate EMS per region. And my proposal is to add another layer on top called provider. Now, for the existing VMware, this would end up being just sort of a one-to-one, but for things like Amazon, we get to bucket all that information under one provider object. What this allows us to do is take things like authentications, which have to be duplicated across the Amazon, push it up to the provider level. It allows us to separate ourselves from being very specific to a specific endpoint, so you can have different endpoints for different things. And if I scroll down to an example integration, one of the upcoming integrations we have is with a system called Foreman, the Foreman, and it has internally, it essentially runs a configuration management system like a Puppet, and it also has a provisioning engine. And those two things are kind of independent, and for Foreman, we're looking at keeping the configuration management siloed separately from the provisioning stuff. This allows us to eventually actually open up managing other configuration management systems as well, such as Chef or Puppet or Ansible or whatever. So by being able to separate things out, we're able to hopefully allow it to be more extensible. Another big one is OpenStack infrastructure. Right now, OpenStack, as you can see on this picture, I can zoom out a little bit. Make it bigger. Right now, down here on the left is what we currently have as OpenStack. If we want to add OpenStack infrastructure, It's a different API that we have to talk to, but it's technically part of the same installation, the same provider. So we have to keep it as a separate EMS, but technically they're the same thing. So adding the provider layer on top allows you to group those together. So this is the high-level concept. In the recent work for the foreman, I believe it's been merged already. We actually added in the provider class and the managers for those underneath that provider. And we have not extended the existing EMS code to include the providers yet. I think once we kind of flesh out more of the foreman work, that'll put us in a position where we can start shifting everything over, because it's going to probably require a lot of UI changes. There might be reporting changes. There's kind of a lot of fallout from adding something like this. So we're kind of doing it slow with kind of a self-contained bit of code, and kind of experiment in there and see what happens. So the modeling has been added, and I believe the refresh code for Foreman is actually in a pull request right now, which is very close to being merged. So it's coming along. Get John.
Let's back up for a second. I'm back. Thanks for thanks for going ahead. So if you back up for a second and think about how ManageIQ or CloudForms, how we use what the nomenclature is, like how do we use, what does a provider mean? What is a provider architecture, and how does it currently work before this new stuff that you're adding? Yeah.
So at the very beginning, I mentioned that right now the ext management system class in the code is sort of synonymous with provider. In fact, we've started, a lot of the UI was changed to just say, where it used to say EMS before, now say provider. Since I'm bumping that up a level, provider will be a slightly bigger concept, and EMS I'm actually terming manager. So an EMS is really sort of an endpoint or a set of endpoints that you talk to get information, and you manage the systems directly through that. And a provider is a collection of those managers where common details can be saved about it. And perhaps even, I mean, it's not there yet, but I can actually perhaps see tagging or reporting or other things, RBAC at that higher level as well. So you can deal with your entire, say, OpenStack infrastructure and the cloud part all as one unit. Yeah.
But anything that provides a computing infrastructure could be considered a provider if you're able to manage it or view it from the automate part of the ManageIQ, right? Right.
So the other part of the reason to go down this route is that eventually ManageIQ will probably be managing things outside of systems management. So we've talked about looking at network management, things that don't even exist in our system yet, container management. So in order to get there, the EMS system is very tied to like systems that manage virtual environments, and if we're getting away from that, where you're going to manage, say, networks, that class doesn't apply anymore. So we need something else to work off of that kind of joins it all together, or a way to enter all your credentials and information in a consistent way, and that's what providers really for.
Okay.
Yeah. I think one of the things we started realizing was that the way things were set up right now, it was really conducive to Vert management and cloud management. But once we started branching out outside of that, once we started talking about things like containers, things like networks, or storage systems for that matter, if we want to try to talk about like NetApp, the ideas we had and the way they were modeled inside of cloud and infrastructure started to break down a little bit, or we had to kind of group all that stuff underneath things like cloud and infrastructure. Like an infrastructure may have access to a NetApp filer, and so we would kind of say, it kind of belongs underneath of there. What would be nice is if we could say the NetApp filer is really its own manager, and it has or possibly its own provider. I mean, we're not exactly sure where that's going to fall, but it'll be able to provide us that level of specificity, let's say. Okay. And then once we start tying all that together, like if I start looking way into the future, my utopia is being able to have all of those providers laid out. You can see all your different landscape, and you can hopefully be able to say that a filer that dies in San Jose is going to have an impact on applications running inside of containers, running on some, running inside of some VMs, running on some host, yada, 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 all the way up the line. And you can see that impact all the way through. That's the utopia that I see. We're working down that path. That's a long ways down, but I mean, in my eyes, that's the grand vision.
And a nice add-on benefit there is that going down this path allows other people, people who aren't, core developers, to add their own pieces as providers into the ManageIQ infrastructure, right?
That's a big part of
okay.
That's always back in our mind when we're trying to design this stuff out. The clickability aspect and the extensibility aspect is extremely important. We're thinking that by adding this restructuring, it allows the writer of a plugin to sort of silo themselves, and then that cross-linking that will enable what Greg was talking about can then be done, as we can detect different things from different parts. So we say, oh, this VM actually sits on this NetApp host. Let's make a cross-link between them. And it's through those cross-links that I think a lot of the power of what Greg is talking about will actually show up. We have a little bit of it now, but we sort of kind of coded it in directly, and you kind of have to untwist that a little bit to make it more siloed so that clickability and extensibility can drive.
Okay. So now the rubber meets the road, and that you were going through your document a few minutes ago. Where does that document match reality, and how much of it is TBD? Where do we stand now, and
sure. So like I said,
what's in between that?
The Foreman effort that's ongoing, the integration effort for that, has introduced the provider concept and the manager concept.
Okay.
We did a great job with that. Just get to the high-level objects there. So the back end's in refresh. The inventory refresh for that stuff is in a PR pull request, so that should be in relatively soon. And then beyond that, then it starts going into UI and reporting and all that other good stuff. So those, once the inventory is in, the basis of it, it's sort of parallelize on that effort, get it all in, and then we'll see where the dust settles, and kind of, I think we're going to end up making more decisions about, should other things move over, or how do we reorganize this? So it's sort of imagine.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is some of the decisions that are being made with the Foreman integration implementation is kind of advising back to the design, right? So we're seeing some, okay, we ran into a specific situation here, let's go back and figure out how that impacts the design, and then kind of full circle that one. One of the other things that Jason kind of touched on was this idea of having multiple endpoints. So, some managers can have multiple endpoints. And one of the, we started off with the idea, well, this will be pretty easy to put in, and it turned out to be, it dove a lot deeper into the code than we were expecting. And so that, some of these things kind of come up. We think, well, it'll be really easy to, add this layer in, and then we realize how deep it's going to dive in to actually change in the code, and maybe, some design decisions shift here and there. But overall, I think what Jason's saying is exactly spot on. We're getting that the Foreman integration coming along, and then that's helping advise back to the design.
Yeah, but the high level goal of all this portable provider stuff, I just kind of want to reiterate is the idea is that subject matter experts in other management systems, whatever they are, should be able to easily integrate their code into ManageIQ without kind of having to learn all of ManageIQ. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now with the parties that we're integrating with. They're kind of learn all of the ManageIQ code, and the whole driver behind pluggable providers is to kind of abstract that out as much as possible, so that subject matter experts just become experts, just stay experts in the subject that they're in, and not really become experts in ManageIQ, unless they want to.
So,
Yeah.
the pluggability aspect, there's been quite a bit of effort in kind of reorganizing some of the code into buckets, if you will. There's been some work done to try to kind of reorganize the classes, reshape them, put them in a separate directory, and kind of isolate them. And that goes back to what Oleg was saying, when we want to try to just, if you can see a directory and how it's implemented, you can probably copy that pattern and implement your own without having to know much of the ManageIQ framework at all. And that's really the big goal for pluggable providers.
Yeah, and that Foreman integration is kind of it's the first one where we're sort of prototyping that idea. We're working. It's funny because we're working with some groups that aren't core to the ManageIQ team to help do some of the provider integration work. And so, we're getting to see the struggle firsthand. We're getting to see that struggle of how does someone who has never really seen the code base come in and add features to the code base. Getting to that point where what Jason's saying, where you can really just follow an external pattern without having to dive into our source code. That is a really awesome goal.
Cool. All right. You're starting to cut out a little bit, but we got the gist of it. One other thing, before we wrap this up, if someone downloads a developer build now, can they see some of the handiwork that you've been adding here?
Yeah, they should be able to see the provider model. That's already been merged. And then once the pull request for the Foreman inventory gets done, they should be able to see that as well. Not really usable, but a developer can start looking at it and play with it.
It hasn't made its way to the UI, but through the back, the other stuff.
It's okay. One step at a time. One step at a time. I get the feeling this is going to be a mini-layered, mini-stage effort. So it'll be fun to follow along and see how it comes to fruition. All right. Thanks, guys. Any other cool stuff you want to highlight that's been happening the last couple of weeks?
Sure. We're actually making progress on a number of fronts besides Foreman and pluggable providers. We're setting up our ManageIQ to be internationalized, so we're making good progress on that. We have over 50% of the Rails views translated into HAML and getText. So we created dictionaries on the fly. And I think over the next sprint or two,
I'm losing audio. Cut. I can't hear him. Hey, Oleg, I can't hear your audio at all.
Yeah.
Now I can hear you.
Jason, I think your connection was slowing up. I could see Oleg's see Oleg talking, but Jason's connection was dying.
All right. So where do we leave off?
You got about 2 sentences in.
Okay.
Yeah. The rest of it was just your mouth moving and the sound.
Got it. So on the I-18N, we're making progress there. Many views have been translated. More views are coming in the next sprint or two. Once that's done, there was still localization work to be done to display numbers and dates and times, as well as more strings to be translated from controllers and the models.
Cool.
But this is a very good start. The other thing that's being worked on is IPv6 support, especially for VMware and Opert Rev. That's kind of making its way forward here so we can support providers on IPv6 networks. As you guys heard, we're doing integration with the foreman, so that's also coming.
Nice.
We're also working on integrating orchestration templates, specifically CloudFormation and Heat. CloudFormation from Amazon and Heat from OpenStack. So that's kind of making its way forward. We're very close to finally getting rid of the JavaScript prototype library from our appliance and replacing with jQuery. Oh, that wasn't excellent.
Yeah, nice.
So since that's merged, now we can actually start thinking about a point in time when we can upgrade to Rails 4. So the way that's going to go down is that we will be releasing the Botvinnik release this spring, probably in the March-April timeframe. Once the Botvinnik release is out, the master branch will, not the master code stream there, or the branch, will be updated to jump to Rails 4, and we will start using Rails 4 for the subsequent release after Botvinnik. So pretty excited about that. There's been a lot of progress on that over the last while. And you know, if you guys want to kind of check out progress in general, we have a Trello board, a ManageIQ roadmap board on Trello.com. You guys feel free to kind of peruse and you know, make comments there.
Great. And if you want to see this is broken down into 3-week sprints. You can download a new developer image every 3 weeks. Get the latest at manageiq.org/download. You can also check out a new effort we recently started, the Extensions Depot, which you can find at manageiq.org/depot. So there's a lot of activity that's going on here, a lot of things to check out, and I do look forward to that Botvinnik release at the end of March or early April. All right, thanks guys. It's been a very informative 20 minutes, and look forward to doing this next time.
Thanks.
Cool. Talk to you later.
All righty. Take care, guys.
Bye.